Next, I'm going to ask a councilwoman who always speaks with a fierce voice, Councilwoman Nirva LaFortune, to share a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Elorza, for hosting this press conference, and thank you to all the parents, the leaders who are here, the young people, the students within the Providence Public School District. So I come here as a parent first of a Providence Public School kid. My son graduated from the Providence Public School System 2 years ago. He will be entering his second year of college. I'm a graduate of PPSD, and my parents sent all 5 of their children through the Providence Public School District. So I have deep roots in our educational structure. I remember a few years ago, one of our top educational administrators told me, when I asked, would you consider sending your children to our public schools? I was told that they would not gamble with their children's education. And I've been reflecting upon that for quite some time now, because for so many years, our leaders have been gambling with our children's education, with my child's education. We talk about the same things over and over again, but yet we have not made the investments to really uplift education within our system, and also creating a structure where the students and families are at the center. There are a whole bunch of wonderful things that have happened throughout the course of the year and for many years, where we've seen some investments in ensuring that we have after-school opportunities. We have parents who are becoming more involved, showing up to meetings, providing input. We see some things that are occurring, but they're done in silos. As we talk about the contract and what is it, transformative, right? We have to ask ourselves, what does that mean? What does it mean to have a transformative contract? Having a transformative contract means to have a contract that's actually going to push our educational system forward in a way that's meaningful and that can change the trajectory on how we are educating our children and what happens to them in the future. You know, one of my favorite quotes is, a teacher affects eternity. They never know where their influence stops. Because the education that our children is receiving now has a long-term impact on their lives. I am tired. I'm tired of showing up to meetings, advocating, showing up to press conferences, when the leaders, people who are at the top, are one, not prioritizing the community and allowing them to be a part of the conversation, but also making decisions that are sometimes harmful to our kids in our community. And I'm also tired of recreating the wheel. We have yet to truly invest in education and to take it seriously. Do you know, in our state, we don't even have a piece of legislation that our kids are guaranteed an adequate, basic and adequate education? Because you know what? If that piece of legislation existed, then there would be legal stipulations if our children were not getting an adequate. We have yet to create a mechanism to attract and retain teachers, and teachers that truly reflect the diverse demographic of our students. Because we can have that in the contract, which I hope that's one of the components within it, right? But we also need to change the structure at the state so that we're retaining teachers who are coming from New York and Boston can teach in Providence, or the teachers who have been teaching for over 20-something years or 30-something years who are just staying in the system so that they can meet the retirement requirements. We need to perhaps provide them with a pension package, right? Some sort of retirement package, so that we can make sure that we're able to have those open positions to attract new teachers. There are definitely some big picture things, but what I hope this contract does is that it creates a foundation to truly transform education in the city of Providence and in the state of Rhode Island. And I also hope, as we're having these contract conversations, and before anything is signed, it has to be made public. We as a community, as parents, as students, as leaders, need to know what is outlined in the contract. Many people said decisions are being made without our input. Decisions that directly impact our children. I am a single parent of 2 kids. Like, I'm tearing up. I cannot afford to send my children to private school, nor do I want to. I'm gonna say, maybe my experience is a little different because I'm here because of educators who invested in me. It was Mr. Saucia in 12th grade who told me that the sky is limited. It was Ms. Farrell in 6th grade when I was undocumented and felt like I did not have a voice. She showed me that my world was not limited because I had to live in fear, or that because I didn't have this piece of paper that told me that I had the ability to live in this country. It was Ms. Berger who provided me with a voice in theater. It was Ms. Valerie Ranglin who provided us with mentorship in Mount Pleasant High School. It was Ms. Baglio or Ms. Swendowski. It was Mr. Rayo who stopped me in the middle of the hallway when I thought I could not afford college, which I really couldn't. So I'm going to be paying student loans till the day I die. But I went to my physical to go into the Air Force because I didn't think college was an option, although I was accepted to colleges. He's the one who pulled me and said, LaFortune, what are you doing? You're going to college. And I told him there's no avenue for me to go to college. He said, yes, there is. You are going to college. It was a teacher that drove me to Bethune-Cookman College in HBCU in Daytona Beach, Florida. Drove me and another young woman who lived in Olneyville, I lived in Washington Park, and rented a van and drove us from Providence, Rhode Island to Daytona Beach. So I say this to say that not all of our educators are doing the wrong thing. There are some that are doing some amazing work in our system. But if you don't take education seriously, and you are not investing in educators, and investing in our students, and you're in a job where you feel invalued, you're gonna give up. We need to take education seriously. And that starts at the top. Stop gambling with our children's education. Education should not be political. I'm here because education can never be something that I use as a platform to elevate me higher. Because at the end of the day, there are so many kids. I see them at the rec centers. I see them at the supermarket. They live on my street in my neighborhood. I see them at the churches. I see them walking down the streets who are directly impacted by the decision that we make. And every time that I see that we're failing them, it hurts me. It hurts me. So what I do hope when this contract is made public is that we see some investments in areas and guidelines to recruit new teachers and retain them. We see some guidelines around professional development. We see some guidelines around providing intervention opportunities so that kids who are falling behind, we have like Saturday schools. We have after school programs. I want us to have a contract, something that is going to make sure that our students, our families, and our educators are at the core. And a contract that we can build upon. But again, the work doesn't just stop because the contract looked okay. We also have to do our due diligence with policies that are created, bills that are created, our voices as a community. So what I urge the governor, the commissioner, everyone here, all the leaders, stop gambling with our children's education, with my child's education. Because I have an 11-year-old girl who's beautiful in and out, who's brilliant, who's excited about middle school. And I want her to keep that excitement for learning. Because I know the sky is limited for her. It's not limited, the sky's the limit for her, pardon. But if she has a negative educational experience, she's gonna believe that she's not good enough. She's gonna feel ill-prepared. So, please, put our children first. And if not, like the Reverend said, I'm ready to fight. Trust me. I already made up my mind, because I remember Gina Raimondo stood up and said she would help people, right, sue. Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I would sue the state if my children is not guaranteed a quality education. And that's what we need to do. Take legal action. And although that's not in our Constitution, but if we mobilize, I bet you things are gonna change. Stop electing officials who are not prioritizing education, because you know why? Because you can't have a robust economy if your schools are failing. You can't attract businesses here if our schools are failing. You can't expect artists who are already struggling to live in the creative capital if they can't even send their children to our schools because they can't afford private. Education is the core. You can't expect to create future leaders that are going to develop policies and initiatives to protect our cities and our state if they don't receive a quality education. That is the foundation of all things. Stop creating de facto segregation systems. I'm ready to fight. I will muster every ounce of energy that I have. I will bring an army. I will join the army that's being formed. But we need to knock it off and put our children, our families, our educators first. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman.